Welcome to Ignorantia Legis, episode 13. Sorry, nahiwi gamay. Ignorantia Legis, episode 13. September 25, 2020. Okay, so mo kani atong start sa discussion magkaigsunan sa topics na introductory to law. So this is law for the law for the general public. Anya, please go to YouTube, subscribe in YouTube, and then kuan siya. Ato mo sa YouTube tanaw. Okay. Ato mo sa YouTube tanaw. Right, so karon wa ko kibaw sa pa nato pagbayag ang discussion because our overview ato sing pattern sa syllabus sa bar, and by Sundays, first Sunday, second Sunday, third Sunday. Ang first Sunday is political law and labor law. Second Sunday is civil law and taxation law. Karon ako memorize niya. Third Sunday is commercial law and criminal law. Fourth Sunday is remedial law and legal ethics. So, pagkukibaw kung saan natin pagbahig. Ang introductory topics, we have to go through all of them, and then pag mag-discuss na article by article, I think we will skip to the articles that you want best, like property or wills and succession or the family code. No? Ganahan kayo ng family code, especially annulment. But in the meantime, ato sa ning tanaw ning kuan na siya, mga discussion, the basic discussions anyway. So, for lack of structure for the moment, let's still follow the bar. Ako sang button siguro for every episode, duha, like political law and labor law, then civil law and taxation, etc. Maybe, we'll go. We'll play it by ear as we go along. So, karon, nakansa na itong political law. I hope we can have a few minutes of political law. Yeah, well, you still have time. Siguro 20 minutes naman lang, 20 minutes of political law. Okay. So, tanaw na ito ng mga messages na ito. If you have nabatay like messages. Okay. Alright, so, political law. Political law, constitutional law. Okay. And Constitution is a document nga mag-serve as the fundamental law of the state. Written na siyang instrument. In some countries, the Constitution is not written. Can you imagine that? Gubot ng kitang written pa. It's a written instrument enacted by direct action of the people. Manang mag-plebiscito gitana. Direct action of the people by which the fundamental powers of the government are established, limited, defined, and by which those powers are distributed among the several departments of the government for their safe and useful exercise for the benefit of the body politic. So, the people, ba sa mag-form organization, form to organization ba? O sige, sabot ha, magbuhatag bylaws, magbuhatag corporation bylaws. Ano na siya? Ano yung constitution? The people get together. But, of course, in our case, na sa itawag constitutional convention, etc. Classifications of constitutions na written, conventional, or enacted, manay written constitution, otherwise known as the conventional constitution or enacted constitution. Another is the unwritten, which could either be called cumulative constitution or evolved constitution. And it can also be classified as rigid constitution as against flexible constitution. Now, ang Philippine Constitution is written and rigid. Right? Or Article 17 masiguro siya. Sa makakingong kita. how the Constitution is made. The 1987 Constitution took effect on February 2, the Philippine Constitution, February 2, 1987. The 1987 Constitution took effect on February 2, 1987, so that should be the Constitution date. The dates of the plebiscite for its ratification and not on the date its ratification was proclaimed. Allah. Mana so good at was balaod. So good at interesting balaod. Was the date of the plebiscites, the effectivity date, or the date when the ratification was proclaimed. Kung mag-election ka, kung saan ka mukha, katong gi-proclaim ka, o so pagka gi-proclaim pag-election, kung saan ka na, mga na. Di ba? Kung ninglansar ka, kung saan ka mahimong nakadaog, katong pag-election, o katong pag-proclamasyon ka, kung saan man effectivity date sa imong. Anyway, lahat ni siya. Sa Constitution, it took effect on February 2, 1987, the date of the plebiscite for its ratification, not on the date that the ratification was complete. So, itong pag-election, pagbutan mo certification, mo the effectivity. It was, it took a case, De Leon versus Esguerra to come up with such. Please, grabe no? Simple kayo. Mga kuan pa, na pa yung mga kuan. Simple kayo. Simple nga butang. Effectivity date. Na pa mabot pag Supreme Court. Now, interpretation sa Constitution. Kung na kay doubtful provision, a doubtful provision shall be examined in the light of the history of the times and the conditions and circumstances. Conditions and circumstances under the Constitution under which kano sa to nga sorry gaton under which the Constitution was framed. And in case of doubt, ang provision should be considered self-executing, mandatory rather than directory, and prospective rather than retroactive. In case of doubt, the provisions of the Constitution should be considered as self-executing, mandatory, not directory, and prospective rather than retroactive. Ayaw nila. Ano, so may nitapos internet, ganihinay na itong internet, no? Maragawa na tayo connection na. Ming. Awa mo si ring eh. Okay, nabalik na. Now, constitutional law designates the law embodied in the Constitution. Ambot isabot ang constitutional law. It's the law embodied in the Constitution and the legal principles going out of the interpretation o application sa iyang mga provisions by the courts in specific cases. Now, unsa man ang state, ano sa itong political law, political science. A state, mo siya, community of persons, more or less numerous, mas nagkagin siya, gamay kayo tribe, permanently occupying a definite portion of territory, independent of external control, that means na siya independence, and possessing a government and to which a great body of the inhabitants render habitual obedience. Kaya nakukita mo ang government yaw, doko-doko nila. A politically organized sovereign community, independent of outside control, bound by ties of nationhood, legally supreme within its territory, acting through a government functioning under a regime of law. Kaya pa na definition na kataas pa na. Basta state is a community of persons na nag-formally organize sila. Kanya, they can enforce their laws in their own territory. What are the elements of a state? People, territory, sovereignty. Diba? People are the inhabitants of the state, the number of which is capable for self-sufficiency and self-defense of both sexes for perpetuity. So, dili singon nga lugar sab-usab lang. Different meanings of the word people. People as inhabitants, okay, in some parts of our constitution. Now, people as citizens in other parts of the constitution, and people as electors in the other parts of the constitution. The word people, like meaning, even within our constitution itself. People as inhabitants, people as citizens, people as electors. Territory. Okay. Fixed portion of the surface of the earth inhabited by people of that state. So it must have a fixed portion. Murabag, iyan na. Yeah, it can enforce its own laws within that region. Kaya kung soro-soro yun ka, mga gypsies, hardly you can call yourself a state. Mabita na, Israel, sura nila pagsik. Lakaw-lakaw na sila. Ngadto ko sila sa Mount Sinai. Mount Sinai, by the way, is in Saudi Arabia. Wala sa Egypt. In Saudi Arabia. Sovereignty, supreme and uncontrollable power inherent in a state by which that state is governed. Sovereignty, a power. The characteristics of sovereignty are: it must be permanent, exclusive, absolute, indivisible, inalienable, and imprescriptible. Ano yung mga characteristics of sovereignty? Theory of auto-limitation. Any state may by its consent, express or implied, submit to restriction of its sovereign rights. By the way, kumusta mo diya? Nakakuan ba mo? Legis, chat scene. Okay. Saan naman ito nalawa man? The theory of auto-limitation. Any state may, by its consent, okay, any state may, by its consent, main, where are you? But a theory of auto-limitation, any state, by its consent, express or implied, submit to a restriction of its sovereign rights. Now, there may thus be a curtailment of what otherwise is a power plenary in character. Theory of auto-limitation. That's the defense of siya. Sige. Bigyan ko kayo pagkakataon. Imperium. Sa mga imperium. Imperium is the state's authority to govern in the concept of sovereignty. So that's the term imperium. includes passing laws, governing a territory, maintaining peace and order over it, and defending it against foreign invasion. Imperium. Dominion, capacity of the state to own or acquire property. So, dominion, domain. So, imperium is the authority to govern. Dominion is the capacity to own or acquire property. So, right? Imperium and dominion. Effects of belligerent occupation. There is no change in sovereignty. However, ang mga political laws, except those of treason, are suspended. Municipal laws remain in force unless changed by the belligerent occupant. Occupy. Panahon sa gubat, no? Hapon. There's no change in sovereignty. Nagyapoy sovereignty in Philippines. Ang political laws suspended. Municipal laws remain in force, like the laws of commerce, the laws of relationship between citizens. Unless, of course, it changed sa mga Hapon during the war. So, maligingon of effect of the belligerent occupation, there's no change in sovereignty. What is the principle of jus post liminium? Jus post liminium. Jus magana G-U-S. Jus post liminium. Jus. Why? Ang J mo nag-Y. Actually, I na siya. I-U-S. The J is an elongated I in the Latin alphabet. Principle of jus post liminium. At the end of the occupation, political laws are automatically reprieved. So, kung makabasa mo ng case of Peralta versus Director of Prisons na against political law, basahon yun mo. Kanang political law sa una na papasahon ni 100 cases every week. Every week. Yung sa case na tag 300 pages. Principle of use post liminium, at the end of the occupation, political laws are automatically revived. So, that was in the case of Peralta versus Director of Prisons. Ano yung kung presohon? Ha? Nga, gibuhat to nako panahon pa masakon. Ano na istorya ba? Ya, di man kamo may gobernador. Ya karain niya kung paano niya sa akong gibuhat sa panahon sa hapon. Ang hapon may mo condemn nako dili kamo. Na arguments ha? And you have to read this political cases kay di na ordinary yung agreements. Ano yung conduct pon? I committed a crime under the occupation of the Japanese. Oh, ano yung mga kumpisohon? Ato mo Japan. Ang mga Japanese may mo prison kung dili ka mo. Dili ka mo may government at the time. Di ba? Sorry may kayo magkaigusunan. Na ikakuliang di kapugan. Unya, time sa nato na mo sunod na to. Ato na discussion. Manay atong discussion sa political law. Pero paminaw kuan pa gani ha? Kanang magsugod pagita na. Nanay mga cases nga atong nakitaan kay ang interpretation karon sa nagsugod ng constitution, sa ng imperium, sa ng dominion, sa ng mga belligerent occupations, kada bang inigbalik ko sa katong panahon sa hapon dito ko nagka-commit og crime karon inyo kung kuanon prisuhon di mo gobyerno at the time, di ba? I did not commit a crime against the Philippine government. I committed a crime against the Japanese government na may nagda sa Pilipinas at the time. Ano yung person? Ano yung mga arguments sa law? Maglalis ka na. Anyway, kay nanay mo sundat og kaysa. Salamat yung pag-uban ka na ko. Hopefully tomorrow mas kuanta. Sa katang ma-discuss. Thank you. And good afternoon. Kini ang atong episode. Ano sa episode na ito ron? Asa man niya? Episode 13 sa Ignorantia Legis. Okay, episode 13 sa Ignorantia Legis. Thank you. And, anong magawa sa itong nawan eh? Okay. Episode 13 sa Ignorantia Legis, September 25, 2020. Thank you and good afternoon.